Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome to the Hangin' With Web Show. I'm GW Pomacher. Thanks for logging on and tuning in. We are here at Space Coast Book Lovers in Cocoa Beach, Florida, hosted by Terry Dees, Edney, and the crew here. We are hanging right now with author Chrys Fey, the author of just bad stuff, man, trouble. We have Tsunami Crimes, most recently.
Yes, that's book 3.
But before you can have a tsunami, you have to make it through seismic crimes. There's an earthquake. And then, but before you can be in an earthquake, you got to get through hurricane crimes.
Yes.
First of all, apparently there's a crime wave. Second of all, it's not during friendly times. So, wow. Give us kind of the story wrap up here, like a book blurb for the series. Where did this come? You have a troubled mind. You see crime in every disaster. So why?
Well, first off, I got the idea for Hurricane Crimes after I read a story set during a blizzard. And living in Florida, you know, you don't experience blizzards at all.
True, we don't.
So I wanted to write a book based on like weather that I know. And in Florida, that's hurricanes.
That's a hurricane, yeah, yeah.
So, you know, I set out to write Hurricane Crimes, and I actually started writing it on Christmas Day, 2011. And
this is her mental Christmas present to her.
Exactly.
Okay, what genre are we writing here?
Romantic suspense.
Romantic suspense.
So even though there's
disasters, there's disasters and there's crime
and romance.
Because when they're stealing your stuff in the middle of a hurricane, you got to hook up with somebody. That's the rule. Everybody knows these things. Okay, so how long have you been writing?
Well, I started writing when I was 12, and kind of a weird experience. I was outside playing basketball, and I sat down on the grass, and I was playing with like the grass, and I found a screw, just a little screw in the grass. And it was rusted, it had a crooked tip, and for some reason I got a story idea from that. And
so did the entire internet just now, by the way. I'm just saying, it's not my fault, it's the web.
And I started writing that story, and it went into like 4 books, and then, you know, I ended up rewriting them, and then I wrote these.
Nice. Well, that wasn't like right then, you were...
No, years later.
It took her a while to get there. So, all right, so hurricanes you knew.
Yes.
Earthquakes we don't know.
No,
you stepped outside your wheelhouse here.
I've never experienced an earthquake.
So, writing the disaster portion of this then, for earthquakes and then again tsunamis. We don't have those most of the time. But that's some research. Got to learn a little bit here now. So what would you say is the most interesting thing you learned while researching these particular things?
Well, for Tsunami Crimes, it was just basically the first-person accounts. Like, I read a lot of things from the tsunami that hit Indonesia, and it was just a lot of books, a lot of documentaries, and movies like The Impossible. That movie's really good if you need to know about tsunamis.
You want to know what devastation water causes. That's a good place to go. Yeah. And seismic, I imagine same thing. First-person accounts and
yes, and a lot more of the science behind
call people
earthquakes.
In California and say, so. Why do you live there?
I actually did have an author read a certain part of it because I was like, I want to make sure it sounds true. And she actually read a part that there's a sinkhole, and it's a really big sinkhole, And she was like, that's like one of our fears, like sinkholes happening.
Yeah.
And she said I did it really well, so.
Well, we have a few of those down here.
Yes.
We don't have,
Yes.
they're not, they don't go like to the center of the earth like California. They're like, your car gets stuck in there and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
well, that's going to suck. But so is there something that drew you to this kind of story? Is it just fascinated you, or?
Well, first it started where I wanted to write about hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
And after I published Hurricane Crimes, I realized that the story wasn't quite over because a bad guy was still at large. So then
I like that you didn't fall into kind of the old-fashioned standard fiction trope, though, of making sure that he's caught, make sure he gets his comeuppance, they used to call it.
yes.
I like that you didn't do that and left it open-ended, because that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Something more and more of us are trying. Sometimes the bad guy gets away.
Exactly.
Sometimes. So then seismic crimes, so you got the same bad guy.
Same bad guy. Yes.
Ah.
And a new bad guy actually comes into Seismic Crimes, and we get to see like the fallout of what he starts in Seismic Crimes continue in Tsunami Crimes with his followers, continue to go after the main characters.
That's kind of cool. So there's a running thread.
Yes.
Right, okay, very, very cool. How about, this is a romance?
Yes.
How about the couple? Same couple?
Same couple.
Don't travel with these people. Everywhere they go, bad things happen.
I
Look at
hear
this.
that
So
a lot.
She's in Florida. It's like traveling with Matt Damon. You don't know if you're coming home.
Yes.
Or Tom Hanks. So, okay, so we found out when you started writing. We found out where you got these book ideas from. We're going to get inside your head a little bit now. This is where we have some fun. This is the part of the show I call clickbait.
Okay.
I know you were watching backstage while we were doing this before. Clickbait are those headlines on the internet that you just can't look away from. I know you've been scrolling your Facebook feed. You're like, oh, what happened? And you see? And it's never what you think it is. So what we did is we sent the girls out to the internet and we said, find ridiculous questions. I'm going to ask our guests, and your real answer is going to make us both internet sensations.
Okay.
I could be telling the truth. You never know. What was okay, this is just get inside your head. What do you like? What was the last thing you took a picture of?
Probably nature. I like to do nature photography.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Photography, or your phone, or just any kind of take a picture?
Photography.
Very nice. Very nice. We're learning. As videographers, we have to learn. It's kind of we have to do it.
Yes.
I'm not good at it, but, I'm also an author that I'm not good at. I'm not really good at a lot, so that happens. If you were a crayon, what color would you be?
Probably neon green. It's my favorite color.
Neon green.
Yes, and
I don't think we've ever had a neon green. That's new. That's good. The next card says, what unusual things would you include in your disaster preparedness? Oh my God, I hope you're prepared. Because you have a vivid imagination, so what unusual things would we find in your preparedness kit?
well, my character's Donovan would definitely tell me to have a taser and handcuffs because of the criminals that could bother you.
We just had Abigail Lee Justice on the show about 5 minutes ago. That's like her day kit, not the disaster kit. So that's not horribly unusual. We're at an author's convention. You'd be surprised. Okay, so, you said you started writing at 12 years old.
Yes.
So who you are and your creativity was already coming from childhood. What was your favorite toy as a child?
Oh my. Well, I did play with a lot of Barbies.
You didn't see that coming? Really? You didn't see that coming? Of course you did. And
It's
they
how
were
I
upside down
started.
in a pool because look what she did to them. What's coming down the pipe for you next? Where are you going to be? Where can readers find you next?
Well, tomorrow I'll be at the book signing for the Space Coast Book Lovers event.
Mm-hmm.
And down the road, maybe in September or October, I might do a reading and sort of a talk at a local library, DeGroot Library.
Awesome.
So.
Awesome. We're going to put links down below so you can find Chrys all over the internet. Stalker, not for real. They're insane. It's the internet. You never know. Check her out on Facebook. Find her on Twitter. Find her everywhere she is on the World Wide Web. We're going to put those links down below. Find these books. This is the way to have a disaster. Right here, like this. This is how you have a disaster. You do not want a disaster. We live in Florida. You don't want a real hurricane. She doesn't even give you a real book. Look, no. It's a hurricane book. You don't get a real book. You got to get an internet book.
Yeah, it's an ebook.
It's an ebook, and then you can move on to paperbacks. You just baby steps, okay?
Exactly.
We're going to wrap it up. As we do, we're going to say thank you to our partners and friends at Florida Book News, Something Unique Magazine, Wordfire Press, Space Coast Comics, Famous Faces and Funnies. These are the folks that share our creators all over the World Wide Web. We're so grateful for them, for sharing our authors and our artists. I'm GW Pomacher. We've been hanging with author Chrys Fey, the writer of Tsunami Crimes, Seismic Crimes, and Hurricane Crimes. Check the links, find out where they are, and while you're on the web, remember, subscribe, log on, tune in, and see who we're hanging with next.
Wow.